This meeting to order. It's 12 o'clock, Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. We're here for a discussion on equipment buyout for public works. I will turn that over to Ms. Stutsky to fill us in on what our opportunity is here today.
Thank you. So we've been presented with kind of a unique opportunity. Normally when we lease equipment, especially our bigger equipment such as graders, we get to the end of the lease and the buyout is much more than what we can afford, or they won't allow us purchase options at the end. And so we end up having to turn that piece of machinery back in and start a new 5, 6, 7 year lease. And then it starts the cycle all over again. So we're just allocating that money to go out, every year until the end of time. And so we have a grader that is coming up in the Osborne district. It's a 2018 140K cat grader. This one is, it's the government package that they don't readily offer anymore. And the reason that those are so good is that it doesn't, this machine doesn't take DEF. And so it's lower emissions and there is less computerized equipment on it. And so there's less to go wrong. When the computerized stuff goes wrong, it's usually very costly to get fixed. So we don't mind having it on the leased equipment because that's all things that are covered under warranty. And so we can send them back in. But it gets a little scary to own equipment that's highly computerized like that when we don't have, the equipment to take care of that. So this particular grader is up, the lease is up, and it was on a 5-year lease. The buyout for this machine at this point is $155,000. And so for us, if we can break it up into payments, that would be attainable for us. And at the end of the term for purchase, we could actually own this equipment, which would be nice because then we could start looking at other equipment that we may at some point have to put back on, for lease. And so normally we don't have this opportunity because the buyout is $255,000 and we just can't do that. So I took a look to see if this was something feasible because we are in the middle of our fiscal year. And so without wanting or having to look at opening up the budget, can we do this with what we've already budgeted for this year? And we can. They gave us 3 purchase options. They gave us a 3-year, they gave us a 4-year, and they gave us a 5-year purchase option. So the 3-year would make us have 3 total payments of $55,336.58. With what we have left in our leased equipment line, that would put us just slightly over budget for this year. So the 4-year would give us payments of $42,871.38 for 4 years, and then we would own it outright. That would leave us with a little bit of cushion with what we have in our leased equipment line item. And the reason for that is, as we talked about the last time we had talked about releasing a piece of equipment, was we always leave a $40,000 buffer for new purchases because we figure the payments are going to be a little bit higher because the prices are going up. And so that being said, it would still leave us, if we went with a 4-year option, we would still come in on our leased equipment line at the end of the year with $5,789 left. So we would not be having to overexpend on a line item this year. It would come in under budget. And at the end of 4 years, we would, in fact, own this equipment. It's got very low hours on this grader. And so we all within our department feel that it would be smart for us to look at purchasing this piece of equipment.
What's the lease on it? How much per year do we lease?
So right now on this particular piece of equipment, we are paying $36,494.19 on this piece of equipment a year. So the payment would be on a 4-year, $42,000 $871.52
About $6,000 more.
Mhm.
So-
Seven.
to own it, and
That's
then we would
the
own it
total.
after 4 years. Correct.
Now, we already paid that lease payment out?
No, this is the time where we have to make that decision,
Okay,
where
so
we have to
can-
decide: are we going to purchase this?
So we can buy it before we send the lease out and we're good,
Yes.
and just buy it.
Yep, if we purchase it at this time. And this is something normally we don't, unless, they've worked it out, so we have the dollar buyout option. Normally we don't look at purchasing equipment this way, but I feel like at this point, with the type of the machine it is, with the government package, with the low hours on the equipment, it would be smart of us to do. And this is one of the few times that I would recommend doing that.
Do you know how many hours offhand it has?
Just under 600 hours. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Very, very low hours.
Yeah. Well, I like the 4-year option because
Mhm.
we stay in budget and we don't have to.
And I mean, there is a 5-year option that would leave us even less under budget, but then we're paying a whole additional year of interest. And so to me, that it isn't that as beneficial. I can't see putting us to where we're in danger of going over budget by the 3-year. The 4-year is right in the middle of the road. And that would be the option if you guys decided to go this direction that I would recommend moving forward on.
Well, any questions from the commission?
No, I think it looks pretty good. I think it's, like $7,000 more, which you do have room
Mm-hmm.
in your other equipment item. And we're actually purchasing it. It falls along with the lines of, the lease. We haven't made the lease payment yet, so we're ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So also we have to come up with another $7,000 this year.
And it kind of fits this plan of we've been paying things off and getting rid of lease payments and paying off things. So that's what I liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would also agree with that.
Well, I will motion that we go with the 4-year plan. I think that it keeps us in budget and avoids as much interest as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make a motion that
I'll
we
second that.
do the purchase that way. And second for that. Any further discussion on that? Any further points from you?
I don't think so. Just thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll go with the 4-year plan.
So you've had this equipment for this piece of equipment since 2018?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Is it one of our better graders?
It is a better grader. It's not used, this particular grader isn't used as much in the wintertime as it is in the summertime for grading of our roads, which is why we have the lower hours. But we might shift some gears on our usage now that we know that we are going to be keeping this one.
Do you have any graders out there that we're leasing that are coming, that are tight on the hour meter?
No, not at this time, but that is something that we have done in the past where if we're getting close, we will swap out graders. Even within districts, we might take one from 2 and bring it to 3, like particularly for harder projects like when we punch open Moon Pass Road. And so we will, we look really closely on that. We never go over our hours.
Yeah, so this would be a good one that you can use that.
Yeah, a nice little buffer to offset some of the other hours.
Okay. All right. Any public comment today?
Just one. This was a 5-year lease we paid on this one.
Correct.
So we paid it roughly $150,000 for 600 hours. That's not worth that kind of money for 600 hours.
Yeah. So we're switching the plan here. So you're going to probably put more hours on it.
We will be putting more hours on this. I can't speak much to the usage, before I took this position, but that's something that Shane and I had talked about, that we would be, utilizing this more.
Okay. All right. We've got plenty more meetings today. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.